All right, guys, welcome to the live edition of Ship Chasing every Wednesday night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Pat Kerrane and I are in the throes of an FFPC main event earlier than we've ever drafted a high-stakes main event team. Pat Kerrane, it feels good to be drafting, my friend.
It does feel good to be drafting. Yeah, and it's like we're getting into this draft. We're starting to build the structure a little bit. I was getting in today with you with building out a draft.
Oh no, Pat, you can't freeze on me this early into our show. That New York Wi-Fi.
See who I'm interested in pick. We just started. I'm dropping off.
Yeah, you froze there for a sec, but I think I got you back now.
Okay. Are you recording locally, by the way?
No.
This is not the start we were looking for, Pete.
My internet did cut out. I'm hardwired in, brother. All right, say what you were saying.
Recording locally?
Yeah.
So, okay. What I'm saying is that one of the things I like to do with these drafts is go and look at the later rounds and then figure out like who I want in round 17, 18, and then work up towards the front rounds. This is something that Sean Siegel does as well. It's a technique that I read an article by him a while back, and it's pretty helpful in just like mapping out. If there are guys that you really, really, really like as values, a lot of those guys are going to be, maybe in round 12 or round 13 in any given year, right? So if you kind of pencil them in, maybe you take them a round ahead of ADP.
Oh no. Will someone let me in the chat know if it's just Pat that is freezing for you, or if it's the entire stream?
Positional. I dropped that again.
Yeah, you're dropping off for me.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to vamp here with some housekeeping things. So what if you guys have subscribed to our new feed, our new podcasting feed, what we've been doing is releasing these mini-sodes, breaking down our thought process when we're on the clock. And basically what's happening is, we're ended up doing a pick like every day. It seems like averaging one a day. And instead of kind of saving it all up to talk about on this stream, once we've already made the picks, we thought it would be interesting for you guys to be able to hear our thought process when we are on the clock. So if you haven't subscribed, I believe in the show notes below here on YouTube, I've also tweeted out the links a few times. We will be doing those mini-sodes for every pick. We will talk about our draft tonight. We're actually 3 picks away, so we might be able to get kind of a live on the clock decision here in the 3rd round. But if you missed those first 2, we talked about our 1st round pick, Alvin Kamara, and our 2nd round pick, Mark Andrews. And the reason this is kind of fun for us is because we normally do our main event team live in Vegas literally a day before the season starts. And we talked about this a little bit before, but the ADP is just obliterated. The market is hyper efficient. And now I feel like you're watching one of those adventure ski movies where someone is like skiing down the mountain and you see the avalanche coming down behind them and they're narrowly escaping it. That's how I feel doing a main event draft this early, just getting out ahead of the ADP. We are pioneers. Pat, do you like this analogy?
I love that metaphor. Yeah, the avalanche coming up behind you.
I thought you were either going to just hate it and bash on it, but it actually really resonated with you.
No, it's perfect. It's perfect.
Yeah, I was actually...
Unless the security cam with the lower bandwidth is a comment here, which is not a bad idea.
Yeah. So that's where we're at. We got Pat back. Why don't we head over here? I'm going to share my screen. This is we are not formally affiliated with RotoViz. So this is a free advertisement in that we just love this product, but they have this FFPC redraft command center, and all you do is put in your email and it automatically pulls up our slow draft. So you guys can see the board right here. And I thought it might be interesting now that we're 2 picks in to kind of structurally look at what some of these teams are doing, some things we might need to anticipate. Pat, just from a big picture perspective, any big surprises for you in this draft to start, or are things pretty par for the course?
Things seem pretty par for the course right now. You mentioned that there is a team that went wide receiver. So it'll be interesting to see if they end up doing a 0 running back build. My guess is that they probably won't. I think like true 0 running back builds are pretty rare in this format, but it's certainly in play, and be a pretty interesting. Like, I like that Thomas Godwin. It's a pretty big firepower in your starting wide receiver spots. If they fill that out with a few more, it'll be an interesting team.
Yeah, and also we should mention Twin Horse is potentially set up for a 0 RB build as well with George Kittle and Julio Jones. I feel like that's a little surprising, Julio Jones over Tyreek Hill and Hopkins. I feel like I don't see that as much.
Yeah, although I don't mind that at all.
No, I don't either.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the other thing now that we're looking at, and one of the reasons I like this tool, is it's pulling in the ADP. And I'm going to assume, though, that this is for all of the FFPC drafts, including football guys and stuff. We have also been looking at Fantasy Mojo's ADP. The ADP for main events is very slim because, as I said, we are the skiers out in front of it. But there is a lot of football guys ADP that we can reference as well. And I assume this is kind of a conglomerate. If any of you Viz heads are in the chat and can tell me exactly what ADP we're seeing here, that would be interesting. But Pat, this is the board. We did see Lamar Jackson, one of the quarterbacks, going. It looks like Patrick Mahomes has the highest ADP by draft. What jumps out to you here as far as this ADP? I definitely see some running backs coming down the pike.
Yeah, I think what jumps out is that we should be able to get a wide receiver we like. I feel pretty good about that in the 3rd round. The only running back that I'm interested in really in the 3rd round is James Conner, but I don't want to go running back after having gone running back in the 1st. So I would really like to get a wide receiver that we like here. I'm not really interested in doubling up a tight end. I think that kind of it's not really an advantage, I don't think, to spend that much draft capital at tight end. And then I don't want to go quarterback this early, so that kind of narrows down our options.
Yeah, and I agree that I guess in some cases I wouldn't be opposed to, like, if we were at the turn of the 1-12-2-1, I mean, there's some situations where I wouldn't mind doing a Kelsey Kittle if that happened to be there. Something like that, but Ertz isn't a guy I want to do it with. And we're still trying to, the goal is to start multiple elite wide receivers. And the 3rd round is one of our best chances to acquire one of those guys. And yeah, I would feel a lot less, excited about our team if we had to wait until the 4th round to get our first wide receiver.
Me too, for sure.
So yeah, the otherwise this draft I think is pretty par for the course. I mean, it's still jarring to see Lamar Jackson and these quarterbacks going so early. If you guys haven't played FFPC main event drafts, and I'm sure it's true for the football guys as well. I mean, quarterbacks go really, really late. You can get really good quarterbacks late. And I don't know if you're starting to feel this just by doing the Scott Fishbowl draft and with how many quarterbacks are being taken. Quarterback feels deeper than ever this year.
Yeah, and I was looking at the ADP on Fantasy Mojo's site, and so this is the football guys drafts, because the main events aren't really even deep enough to have quarterbacks being selected in them yet, besides like the top guys. And yeah, you just look at the quarterbacks who are going in rounds like 13, 14, 15 even, and there's like really high upside guys. Like Daniel Jones's ADP is 1409. Matthew Stafford's ADP is 1304. Like those guys have pretty huge ceiling. Was that, did I freeze again?
Yeah, you're glitching a sec. Not as bad as the first time, but you're glitching.
Okay, sorry guys. I was just saying a quarterback, I think the move is to go with one big swing in this format because you can figure it out in season. People gobble up running backs, people gobble up wide receiver breakouts, tight ends. So quarterback does tend to stay there. There are usually a guy or two out there on the waiver wire each week, and you can actually like find a dude who you can start for, a 6-7 week stretch at some point. So I like the idea. Last year we did this with Kyler Murray, worked out very well. We could have done it with Lamar Jackson, would have worked out better. But I think we can find a guy who we like in this, like, let's say 12 through 14 round range and take one crack and then not take a backup.
Yeah, and that's the thing we've talked about a lot lately. The idea of late round quarterback is two-pronged. Yes, you can wait for a quarterback because there's a bunch, but it also allows you to take a crack early at an upside option because you are going to be able to replace that starter if they fail pretty easily on the waiver wire. Granted, you are going to sacrifice some ceiling, and that's the thing I think Pat and I have adjusted earlier. One of our very first podcast we recorded when we did the Fantasyland episode about our first draft, I was joking about how far would we push late round quarterback because it just seemed like such an in vogue thing to be like, oh, I don't care. But then we realized you look at these teams and the best teams have access to ceiling with their quarterback.
Right. Yeah, I think that it does really help you, but you don't have to pay that much for it. So just pay a little more, pay like 2 rounds and, pay round 12 instead of round 15 or round 16, and it makes a big difference for your team, and you really didn't give up that much opportunity cost.
Right, and the reason it's also different is it's still not a massive starting lineup, requirement to where the quarterback is still an important point scorer. This again isn't the Scott Fishbowl where you have a super flex and 3 other flexes and you can kind of smooth out the scoring across your roster. Like your quarterback in the FFPC format, it's an important position. So yeah, I think that's a position we will be focusing on, taking an upside swing crack. But you look at some of these ADPs. I mean, I know there's some guys here we like, guys that have a ton of upside just going super late. Roethlisberger, Tannehill. I mean, even Gardner Minshew's a guy I like. These guys are really, really cheap.
Yeah, I know. It's like even beyond the guys that I was mentioning, Carson Wentz is really cheap. And we have a question here about stacking, about how important that is. I think that question says break down the drywall to get the Wi-Fi direct view of your rig, which it might be more important than stacking. I'm actually moving in about a month, so I can't make any major changes here, but I will have better Wi-Fi set up soon. But yeah, in terms of stacking, I think it's something that is important. And it's something that I'm trying to think about. As I was mentioning at the top of the show, I was kind of breaking up, but I was saying I like to look at my draft and see what I want to do in like the mid to late rounds, and then take that information and then look at the early rounds again. And I'm kind of looking at guys like, okay, we can get a Stafford, we can get a Wentz, we can get a Daniel Jones, and seeing, we can get a Roethlisberger very easily. So seeing how those would then inform our stacking options earlier in the draft.
Yeah, and I mean, just based on how our draft already started, we have 1 running back, and then we took Mark Andrews, Lamar Jackson already goes. So, the premium stacks that are super expensive just aren't really going to be viable early. You'd have to give up a lot of value to do it. But I think, focusing on a stack in either direction, right? Where say we get a premium wide receiver, and then it's a really cheap quarterback. Like that's a good stack, or vice versa. Say we end up taking our crack at a mid-round QB, we pair him up with a secondary receiving option, because assuming the first one's already off the board. Just as an example, say you take a crack at Kyler Murray. Well, you're not going to be able to get DeAndre Hopkins, or because that would have already happened, but maybe you can still get Christian Kirk after it. So I think looking at what are those combos of maybe more expensive quarterback with cheaper secondary wide receiver, and vice versa, more expensive wide receiver with cheap quarterback, are probably the kind of pairings to look at.
I agree. Yeah. And I think that, that Kyler Kirk stack is a pretty sharp one. That's a stack I'm looking at in Scott Fishbowl. I already have the Kyler, and I'll see if I can get Kirk to fall a little later, because, and that's a format where it really prioritizes the completion percentage. But in basically any format, I like that stack, because if Kyler's going to take a second-year leap, he's going to support more than just DeAndre Hopkins. So I think that if you're looking for a guy to truly break out in the way that we're hoping Kyler can break out as like an all-around complete weapon, then I like Kirk maybe even a little bit more than Hopkins, because of Hopkins' cost.
Right. And I think the interesting thing about that line of logic, and that's what you're hinting at, is like, if you do get that mega ceiling from your quarterback swing, like let's also say we can use Carson Wentz as an example. Like, we all know that Zach Ertz is going to be a beneficiary of a monster Carson Wentz season, but who are the ancillary pieces that are for sure going to benefit? That's you're talking about a Jalen Reagor type, or maybe it's Goddard on the breakout. Whereas if Wentz is a top 3 QB, it's inherently going to support a couple of these second and even third options.
Yeah. And it goes to your point about, where you're getting the quarterback, because with a guy like Wentz, maybe you do want Ertz because Wentz is so cheap. You want his number one guy, and who's a bit more expensive. With a guy like Mahomes, or let's say let's stick with the Kyler analogy. Like, if you're paying a 3rd round, 4th round pick for Kyler, and you also have to pay a 2nd round pick for Hopkins, that's a lot. That's a pretty steep price for your stack. There's a lot of cheaper stacks out there. And there's cheaper stacks to access the Cardinals. Like, you still get a lot of upside for the cost. I think more upside for the cost by going with the Kirk option there. And
it's also, thinking about giving yourself outs. If you do, let's say you do the Andrews Lamar Jackson start, or whatever, if you're able to pull that off, I mean, your entire season rides on that stack. Whereas if you're mixing in a later, Wentz, Reagor, Goddard stack, like, you can weather that based on their ADP. So I think that's another thing. It's like in DFS, if you want to stack Mahomes with Tyreek Hill at their, large price tags, like, your team is going to die and live by that pairing alone. So it's also, the cheaper stacks give you more upside with like less of a scary floor.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. And I mean, especially in the later rounds, it's all about upside. And particularly because of what we were saying before, like, you can just straight up miss at quarterback in this format. You don't have to nail your quarterback pick. You can stream, and then after you stream for a while, you can normally find a guy who's like a little bit better than a streamer who you can, who can fill in for you for a bit. So, and I think that, like maybe a Justin Herbert or something could emerge if he ends up running more than he's usually projected to. But that's something that, some scouts were saying he might do as a pro. I think he could be a very streamable, / startable quarterback for a stretch down, at the end of the season. And he's not going to be held through the bye weeks if he's not starting.
No, yeah, I was just going to say that same thing. That has been a thing we've done. We did it a couple years ago. Lamar's rookie year, he was a guy that we picked up on waivers and got some really high floor startable weeks out of him down the stretch. So the rookie quarterbacks will be a really good one to monitor, and especially those guys that have the rushing upside, like we think Herbert might, he will be a stash. So yeah, I think there are paths to recover quickly if you miss at quarterback. I am going to answer this question from Carl Jr. in earnest here. How important is maple syrup to ensure a good pancake stack? So my thing is, if it's a plain pancake, I definitely need maple syrup to enjoy it. However, if I have a very nice like banana pancake or something with maybe even a little chocolate chips on top, one of those fun things, I find myself not reaching for the syrup as much. I think I can get away with it if I have some extra texture there. Pat, do you agree with this take?
I partially agree with the take.
That's what you get for partially agreeing, is Pat freezing up again. Oh, Pat. Yeah, Carl Jr. agrees with me. Not big syrup guy.
I cut out on my pancake steak.
Yeah, that's how it's like. I was censoring you. Yeah. So no one cares about your pancake steak. We're not doing this again.
No one cares.
Someone asked, have you talked to our Laird and Savior lately? Yes, I actually was texting with him today. This is actually a perfect tie-in. He messaged me a link to my tweet about Pat and I's picks at 105 and 208. And he just said, can you explain what this is to me? And he's like, why are you drafting in July? He's like, I'm not even at training camp. What's going on? And I had to explain to him what us degenerates are doing with fantasy football. And he's
had to explain to him how it's actually sharp.
Yeah, I did. I literally was like, yeah, so the ADP gets really efficient, so we're trying to get out of it. I was like, Patrick, we're like skiers. We're like going down a hill. And he's like, Peter, what? No, I didn't go into that analogy.
Listen, NFL running back. This is how you draft NFL players.
Oh my God. Yeah. So he's doing good. I know that there's some stuff going on right now with negotiations between the NFLPA and the NFL as far as what opening training camps and how preseason's going to shake out. So guys, we got to wear our masks. We got to just keep crossing our fingers that all this stuff gets figured out, because I'm not going to lie. There's a part of me that's very, very nervous, Pat.
Me too, man. I've just been kind of counting on the NFL to like just kind of make it happen, because that's kind of what the NFL is about. But it's kind of getting to a point where I started to get nervous when they didn't seem like they had any contingency plans or weren't really talking about contingency plans. And then you look like the NFL or the NBA is yet to start their whole thing, and they seem to be putting a ton of time and effort into that. And so I don't know. I'm a little nervous that the NFL, I don't know, why aren't they like planning more for this? They don't seem to really be taking it seriously. So I can't. It's honestly all I want to talk about it, because I'm knee deep in like 3 drafts at the moment, but I'm pretty nervous.
Yeah, I know. And it is the thing too. And I won't derail this with COVID talk too much, but I do see it playing out in lots of different businesses and sectors where there's some people like Harvard just announced they're doing all their online classes. Like they're doing nothing in person. We already see some college sports getting canceled, but at least they have a decision and then they can focus on how to execute that plan. I see a lot of these leagues and stuff right now having to worry about all these scenarios. And it's like, how do you plan or do one of these scenarios really well? And I think that's where the NFL is right now, is they're thinking of all these scenarios. And I'm just worried that they're going to be able to accurately plan for all of them. So all that said, I am having a ton of fun drafting. I'm enjoying the Scott Fish Bowl. I'm enjoying our main event draft. I'm enjoying doing best ball drafts, and I'm just blocking it out. I get the same dopamine rush. I might not get the payoff. I might be miserable in September, but right now I'm loving the shit out of it.
I sat on the clock for like 7.5 hours in Scott Fish Bowl trying to decide the course of my team. Like, it doesn't really matter if there's a season. Like, I was as invested as I would be.
We have to talk about this. So Pat like upset his entire league sitting on the clock. He didn't want to be the skier. He wanted to be in the avalanche of ADP. And you were trying to spin this as if you were doing your league a favor by giving them more information.
I did give them info.
No one cares. Everyone wants to make picks. And you're over here like looking at God knows what on Pro Football Reference or who knows. Like, what are you doing?
Pretty deep in the lab. Yeah. All the guys that were looking at as other options were gone. I'm on the corner, right? So I was sitting at the 4 or 5 turn, and I'm like eyeing up some wide receivers because there's some good wide receiver options. But I was also eyeing up my stacks and trying to figure out what stacks I wanted to do. And there was a really juicy stack. I think Tannehill has a lot of upside in this format because you want really efficient passing. Like the fact that they're going to be low volume is totally fine. because as long as they're very efficient again. And I think AJ Brown just has a ton of upside in that format because it is like half PPR, not full PPR. And I think he could be kind of a first down machine as opposed to, needing a ton of targets to do that. So anyway, I think that would have been just a fun stack, but instead I went with with Juju and DJ Moore. And Juju and DJ Moore ended up being, I think, probably the more optimal option. And then what that allowed me to do was do a Teddy Bridgewater, DJ Moore, Christian McCaffrey stack, like a team stack. I'm pretty happy with that construction.
Yeah, you better be happy if you're taking 19 fucking hours a day to orchestrate this team. I do want to address this question. Did you let your timer run down on the main event all 6 hours? There's a special place for you if you did. Here's the deal, guys. Pat and I are also making content about this draft, and we are doing individual episodes for it. So when we get on the clock, we also have to find a time to not only discuss what our pick is going to be, but to also find a recording time, do the podcast, and make the pick. So have we used a lot of our time? Yes, but that's why we're all in a slow draft. We all agreed. If we wanted the rush of a fast draft, you sign up for one of them in August. But we wanted to draft now with the benefit of doing the slow draft. I mean, that's why we're in this. So yes, I'm sorry to anyone else in our league who wants us to pick right away. We're drafting in July. Okay, relax.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I mean, I did get gifts of me getting kicked in the throat sent out. My league was quite angry. Yeah. There was some real anger in my Scott Fishbowl league about my shenanigans.
Here's why it's different. But the main event costs $1,800. You're allowed to take some time to decide. The Scott Fishbowl is a charity league where everyone's super excited to make their picks, and Pat is like, I don't even know what you were looking at. I've
seen some hardcore victory laps taken on the Scott Fishbowl, Pete, and I want to be a part of that next year. Yes.
If you haven't posted a screenshot of your team at least 3 times, you are not a part of this industry. That's what I say. Okay, one thing that will be something that we want to do, and we are trying to build up our podcast feed. It's a new feed this year. And we had mentioned this on one of the mini-sodes that we will review one of your teams, a recent team you drafted, if you rate and review us. And I received a handful of these over the past few days. And Pat, I thought of a great way of how to fix my problem because I'm sifting through DMs, sifting through mentions. Yeah. If you want to do this, use the hashtag SCReviews. Okay? That's what it's going to be. And I looked the last time it was used.
Nothing weird.
It was 3 months ago. Yeah, it was. I think it's 5. I think it's
the Daily Rojo hashtag. The first time I used that, I didn't do that, and there was just some random shirtless dude on there. So you do got to check. It's important.
Yeah. So let me see. I'll put it right up there. Hashtag SC Banners. So this is what you do. You rate and review us on iTunes. You send that screenshot. I'll show someone here who did it well. Racy Lynch here showed us the review and then sent us his team, an FFPC standard dynasty. So let's hop into it here. This is what Pat and I are going to do. We're both seeing this.
SC Banners. I thought it was SC Reviews.
Oh, I was in the thing that said banners, and I just stopped thinking. Yes, that is not true. SC, do not send it to SC Banners.
Maybe just send it to SC Banners. That's what you said, man. People are confused now.
This show is a disaster between your tech stuff, my whatever.
Send it to SC Reviews or SC Banners.
Yes. I'm not going to check them both. SC Reviews. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. If we get a bunch of these, we will not be able to go too in depth. But I'm gonna look at this team right now. Pat and I have come up with a unique metric of how to grade these teams. But Pat, let's each give a few thoughts about this. Is a dynasty team right here. What I like that I'm seeing here in FFPC format is some stud wide receiver.
Thing off. I think I'm missing.
Oh, now you need to get rid of SC Reviews.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I just can't please you, can I? There we go. This team, I love the wide receivers: Chark, Adams, Juju, Debo, Mecole Hardman. looks like kind of a 0 RB build where they drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I love the upside tight ends. I mean, these are the 2 tight ends I just drafted in the fishbowl, Hawkinson and Gesicki. Pat, what are your thoughts on this team? To me, you're more familiar with this dynasty format than I am.
Yeah, so the thing with this format is that you cut down to 14 skill players in the FFPC. So it's like pretty tight in terms of who you're keeping, right? So I think that it works well for a modified 0 running back build, and I like that he has Clyde Edwards-Helaire here as an anchor, a long-term running back 1, and then you're trying to figure out running back 2 a little bit year to year, and you have these additional 4 roster spots that you're going to have to shed every, they're like non-keepers. So you should devote those, I think, to like probably running backs who you don't really feel that you need to keep, or maybe like you can cut a quarterback. The one I'm in is Superflex, so I don't know what the quarterback market would look like, but anyway, I think it's a really good way to go. I like how you kind of have some guys that are going to maybe phase out, and you can then keep like a Zach Moss, who is part of a 0 running back construction this year, but maybe won't be next year. So I like this team.
Yeah, I do too. And nice little, I like how it's kind of layered, and where it has some really nice studs, but it still skews relatively young. This is a team, outside of Big Ben, but you're well positioned behind him with Tua and Gardner. I think this is a team that can win for a long time. Pat, I'm going to give this 5 out of 5 DJ Charks.
That's a good one. Okay. I'm going to give this 2 Clyde Edwards-Helaire's.
Okay, there you go. Make of that what you will. Thank you for the review. Who is this? Racy Lynch. Let's see what else we have here. I received a few of these. This was from the Aquarium Boys. They drafted this team, I believe it's a Football Guys, out of the 7 hole here. They did a little modified 0 RB with Eckler in the 2nd, hammered 4 wide receivers, got some 0 RB targets. Obviously, you're anchored there with Travis Kelce. What do you think about this squad?
Yeah, I think it's kind of a similar start to what we might be looking at, depending on how the next few rounds go, just reversed in the 1st and 2nd round. I think Eckler's pretty interesting there, given that you didn't have a chance, or could you have gone Edwards-Helaire?
No, Edwards-Helaire went before. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I think that was the right pick with Eckler. And then got some guys to fill in at running back 2. I think it could be a little bit of a struggle early in the season at running back 2 would be my concern. But I mean, you've got the really strong tight end 1 is gonna be a big help, and I like Josh Allen as a high upside swing there.
Yeah, that's a perfect illustration of that swing we were talking about, of coming here in the 10th round, not a huge opportunity cost based on the build. Take that crack. You probably don't need to grab Goff late if you do make that swing there. But I know people like having their backup quarterbacks, but I don't know if it's fully necessary. Pat, I am going to give this, I'm going to give it 4 out of 4 Calvin Ridleys.
Wow. I was also going to give it a Calvin Ridley, but only 3.
Okay, only 3 Calvin Ridleys. Let's move along here. We have our guy Jungle Cats, who just so happens to also be in our main event draft here. There he is here at the 3-6 coming up, Jungle Cats. But we're not reviewing that team yet. He sent over a dynasty team he did here. And Pat, did you say you're in this league with him?
This is the league I'm in with him, yeah.
Okay, so I have Pat's team here as well, so we can compare these two in tandem. Let's take a look at Jungle Cat's roster. We got Wilson Locke Hurts. We got some really exciting young running backs.
This is super flex, by the way.
Super flex. Okay, that's good to know. And then a nice wide receiver crew. This guy, to me, I think Jungle Cats likes him some slot wide receivers here.
Yeah, clearly. I don't think I put that together. I will say I took a couple of rookie wide receivers back to back, and then he grabbed Michael Pittman right after. So he was pretty psyched I didn't snipe Pittman from him based on the league chat. And Jonathan Taylor was interesting because he did not draft Jonathan Taylor, but traded for him later. That was actually Jonathan Taylor's drafted by Sean Siegel and Curtis Patrick of Rotoviz, and then they ended up moving off him a bit later. They did the same thing with Juju Smith-Schuster, actually trading off him after selecting him. So,
so was Jungle Cats? Was he the one that had Michael Thomas that sent it to them
for Taylor? Yeah,
for Taylor.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. And I saw, because Sean wrote an article about those trades, and I want to say Jungle Cats got a pretty nice haul there for Michael Thomas that included a first and Jonathan Taylor and maybe even something else.
I think that's right. Sorry, I don't have the trade in front of me, but I'll try to pull it up.
Yeah. So Jonathan Taylor, Jungle Cats, I really like this team. Again, it kind of fits how I like to build. We want to be young at running back. We know these rookies are going to accrue value. The wide receivers, you don't have like the alpha in there, but you have guys that are going to be PPR monsters. I'm super high on Kirk this year and in Dynasty. And I guess Allen Robinson, he's kind of a polarizing guy, Pat. I feel like based on ADP, and I know Silva over at ETR is super high on Allen Robinson. I feel like you and me are maybe a little lower than market on him. Robinson's an interesting guy. What are your thoughts on him?
Robinson's someone who I'm going to be, I think, underexposed to this year, but like not really as like a conscious decision. Like I'm just realizing like I might need to make him more of a priority in order to have the percentage that I would like to have. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I do think that like so in Dynasty last year, I was off of Allen Robinson because he was in this position last year where it had been a while since he had a strong season. And, you know, he was just where his contract was, where his team situation was. It's like if he had a disappointing 2019, he could really crater on you in terms of value. So I didn't really own him much in Dynasty. And I think that kind of creeped into my redraft thinking. I wasn't really on him in redraft either. But obviously I wasn't that bullish on him just in general last year, looking at the situation. He surprised me last year. He had a really strong season. And I don't know. I think with Nick Foles there now, I think his outlook, I would say the floor of his outlook looks stronger than it did last year for sure. And I think, you know, Anthony Miller kind of has not emerged. I think maybe he has a chance to still do that, but Robinson's the clear-cut alpha at the moment. So, yeah, I think Robinson is pretty strong at his current cost.
Yeah, and I think for me, the issue isn't that I don't like Allen Robinson as a player. I mean, he was an incredible prospect, very productive, has all the size, speed. He's been great. He's shown that he can be a number one alpha target hog, but it's more just the opportunity cost of the wide receivers that you're passing on to get him. And I just like a few of those other wide receivers more. And that's just why I'm not going to end up with a ton of him based on ADP. He's been going in the third rounds of these drafts too. If he was slipping more to the fourth, I think it'd be a lot more interesting, but that's pricey. And people, I get that Foles is an upgrade, but is he enough of an upgrade to really shift Allen Robinson's ADP, you know, a round and a half or 2 rounds from where he was going last year? I don't know if that's right.
Yeah, although I think part of it was just we didn't think we were really worried about Allen Robinson being able to have a season like he did last year. So I think part of it is just now he's coming off of that season we were hoping for. I do have that trade, which was between Jungle Cats and Curtis and Sean. They gave Jonathan Taylor the 9-12 and a first round pick, and they got Michael Thomas in the 1307 in the startup.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's an interesting move. I don't mind it at all for Jungle Cats based on how the build shook out. So I am going to give this team, I'm going to give it 6 Jonathan Taylors.
I'm going to give it 7 J.K. Dobbins.
Okay, there we go. Very heavy on the rookie running backs with this review. Let's jump over to Pat's team because we did touch on it last week as he was building it. You've definitely made a lot more picks since we've last talked. What were some of the kind of big decisions you've made since we last ran down this roster?
I think I just loaded it up with a bunch more rookies since the last time we talked. I don't know. I sort of committed to a youth focused build here, which, you know, isn't actually something I like to do all that often. But in this case, it just sort of fell that way. And I guess I took T.Y. Hilton. I took Tyler Higbee. I tried to make this like I'm not just trying to like punt this off this year, but I do like I would need to make some in-season trades in order to be like competitive for a championship in this league. But I think I have the firepower to do that if I end up wanting to do it, because I'm loaded up with some rookies who could break out. So, and I have all my picks plus a extra second round.
Yeah. Yeah, and that will be an interesting decision for you. Like if you get, ceiling Clyde Edwards-Helaire right out of the gate and Mark Andrews, I mean, you're probably looking to add a wide receiver, right? Like through a trade for the push.
Yeah, like I would need another stud wide receiver, but like if Tannehill and Murray are, very solid starters, then I need Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I need one other running back, and if Hilton comes through, then I need one other wide receiver. Maybe not even if Tyler Higbee comes through. So I'm like, because this format kind of constricts your starting spots. This is super flex, to be clear. That constricts in the FFPC. Their super flex takes one of their normal flexes and just makes a quarterback eligible. So it really constricts the starting lineup and what's already sort of a small starting lineup. So it's more about having like really high-end starters as opposed to being super deep with startable players. So that's one reason I decided to go with like taking some big swings. I actually like took Henry Ruggs, who I don't normally take because I figure, he does have a super high ceiling, and his ceiling could come right away with all those targets. So I took a lot of ceiling plays. That's why I went with Higbee. Again, tight end premium. So I'm gonna have to cut a fair amount of my roster. So I want guys who are either gonna hit big or I can just get rid of some of them.
Yeah, and to me, this team, it's a team that I think will be a locked and loaded contender in year 2, but with an outside chance to compete in year 1, which is what you want to do in Dynasty, because this roster is going to accrue value. You're not going to lose value on this team over the course of this year with how many young pieces you have. So I'm going to give it 9 out of 9 KJ Hamlers, because I know that's one of your guys.
That warms my heart.
Yeah, deep cut. KJ Hamler did not get much love this Dynasty offseason. Sean Siegel was on him. You were on him, but people were not excited to draft KJ Hamler in rookie drafts.
I was, man. I have a lot of KJ Hamler.
Yeah. Carl Jr. says, problem with Ruggs is his ceiling is popcorn style, and as someone who watches a lot of HDTV, not good. Carl Jr. with the home improvement ceiling texture inside joke. Carl, that's why we love you, bringing the pancake analogies. And what is your preferred ceiling style, Pat? I know you have a lot of opinions on this.
Yeah. Well, I don't have any opinions on this, and I'm going to cut out again if I stop talking fantasy football. So I'll pass.
Yeah.
But I will say, after this Raheem Mostert news, someone in the chat for this league said that Tevin Coleman's ceiling is now his floor. So I guess that's my favorite ceiling, one that becomes your floor.
You literally started to break out there for a second when you started, this is the fantasy god saying, yep. Pat, do not stop talking about fantasy football or we will cut out your mic. Me, however, I can talk about whatever the hell I want. All right, we got another.
It's every time.
Another team here. This is from Kevin. And he sent me this one over here from a Football Guys Players Championship. He's out of the 7 hole. I'm going to zoom in on this a little bit here so we can see it better. He did a true 0 RB team. I look at this start. Michael Thomas, Julio Jones.
Is this a Football Guys?
Football Guys Championship. Mm-hmm. He gets the double stack with Julio Ridley and Matt Ryan. He loads up on some of these rookie running backs. and high upside backups like Damian Williams, Pollard, Scott. I mean, this team's pretty nasty.
It's great. I really like this team. Boston Scott in the 12th round, Antonio Gibson, Tony Pollard, Keyshawn Vaughn, Damian Williams. Literally all of those guys are in my article.
Yeah. Sorry. Did I mess this up? I am sorry. I received multiple boards. No,
that's not a guy's team. It's just some random dude's team.
No. Okay. Yeah. Chris Gee. God, now I'm confused, guys. I'm sorry. This is why we need to use the hashtag so I get the names straight.
SC banners. Use
Do not. Okay. You know what? I'm giving into it. Adam Levitan messed up and referred to this podcast as Chasing Chips. And then we have SC banners. So this podcast is Chasing Chips. Use the hashtag SC banners. I don't even care anymore.
All right. Good.
Whoever's team this is, we like it. Okay. Whoever out there whose team this is, I like it. I mean, Evan Ingram is a little scary, but that's a crack that you take in these formats trying to ship it all. Cam Akers as your running back one. If we were doing a true zero RB build, I have a feeling Cam Akers would be a guy we would be very seriously considering in the 5th round.
Yeah. I think that's definitely like to get that running back starter. Pretty high ceiling. I think he's a little expensive, but in the 5th round, I'm not going to argue with that. And then I love the running backs you got behind him. Evan Ingram's foot injury scares me a little bit. Jeff Budoff had a good article kind of explaining that at RotoViz, where he's talking about how his first year back, his production could be a bit lower, like 20% lower or something on average based on that injury. So that's makes me a little bit nervous, but obviously Ingram's a stud if he's healthy. So this is a nice team. This was DM'd to you, by the way, is what you told me. So does that help narrow down who this belongs to or not?
No, man. You should see some of the DMs I get, man. I got people send me their rosters nonstop. They're like, Pete, check a load of this bad boy. And it's hard to keep track. People, basically, they send me rosters, but they talk to me dirty is kind of how it works.
That sounds right.
Okay. Delrod, I apologize for mixing that up.
Nice team, Delrod.
We got to give it. I will give it 8 Cam Akers.
I will give it 12 Boston Scotts.
Yeah, Boston Scott, that's your boy. All right, we have one more here. God knows whose team this is. No, this was your board. Okay, no, we did get through all of them. Okay. We did get through them. This was your dynasty board. Is there anything here that we want to check in? Let's see if any more picks were made in our draft in case we happen to be on the clock. I'm actually on the clock in the Scott Fishbowl right now, I noticed.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Let's pull that up.
Yeah, I'll pull it up here. What round are you in?
I am about to be on the clock in like the 8-12-901 on that turn.
Yeah. If real quick point on our draft, was Mike Evans a guy you would have wanted to consider at 3-5, or are you lower on Mike Evans?
No, I like the discount on Mike Evans. I think it's a little silly that we've decided we know how this new offense is going to operate with Brady. I think Godwin's probably more likely to do better than Evans, but they were both awesome last year. And Evans has a much longer track record, and he's in his prime. And I don't know. I mean, if you're going to give me a round discount on him, and he was one of the best wide receivers in football last year, I'll take that.
Yeah, he's just been consistently good, like every year in lots of different situations. So yeah,
literally never not had a 1,000-yard season.
It's wild. Let me refresh the app over here. I can show you guys where I am at. Sorry, Pat, what round did you say your team is in?
About to be on the clock at the 8-12.
Okay. And I believe I am here. The one thing I was disappointed in is I had done the Kyler and Nuke stack. Can I find my team? You know what? Sorry, guys. I'm going to do something else. I'm going to drag this board over because I just have it. So I'm here at 10-9, and I had just hit 2 tight ends after grabbing Hunter Henry. So I have 3 tight ends here. I want to get back to wide receiver. I believe my pick is going to be Will Fuller here. Pat, I know you like Jalen Reagor, but would you take Jalen Reagor over Will Fuller?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, that one jumped out to me. I was bummed. Christian Kirk's been going pretty late. He went here at the 9-10 turn. Another thing that's interesting with this team, I'm not going Edelman. I'm sorry. I can't take Edelman over Fuller. I'm not doing Edelman. I'm out on him. I'm a youth chaser, Kevin. Who would you do, Pat?
Edelman or Fuller? I think you got to go Fuller.
Yeah. Why don't I'm curious, Kevin, why you don't like Fuller? I'm excited about Fuller this year. I mean,
Kevin just says no Fuller and then do it. So
he's just trying to go through it.
Yeah.
I mean, Fuller to me is even a less riskier proposition this year because he's going to have a higher target floor. And so then the only knock, as usual, is just the injury stuff. But in the 10th round, as Deshaun Watson's number one wide receiver option, we're still aggressively targeting Deshaun Watson. I mean, if Will Fuller isn't accessing his ceiling, why is Deshaun Watson getting drafted where he is?
The other thing about leagues this deep is like when you have this many flexes, it almost becomes a best ball because you literally don't have anyone else to start on your roster or available on waivers. So it's like guys who have health is not the point I'm making. The point I'm making is volatile weekly profiles don't really matter because outside of maybe the quarterback scoring that people are talking about where you don't want to take like a -15, which, but among wide receivers, like if a guy's consistent week to week versus really volatile, in Scott Fishbowl, yeah, it could help you or hurt you. You might really need a matchup and it bites you that 1 week or something. But for the most part, you're basically starting like the same dudes. So it's, you know what I mean? It's kind of the same difference.
Yeah, I pulled up the ADP here just so we could see the full other options available. Where even is Julian Edelman? He might already be drafted, Kevin. I'm not seeing him here. Yeah, he's already gone. See, that made it a lot easier for me. He's already gone. I'll go back here to some of the options. Yes, Debo is there. I don't mind Debo, but I still prefer Fuller over him. I also don't mind the idea of going with another tight end. I mean, I'm still racing to fill my flex spots, and right now I could be starting 4 tight ends, which I don't hate. Pat, is there any other guys you think I should give a long, hard look to here?
Well, the thing I would say about starting that many tight ends, that makes me a little nervous personally because they're a bit like they're riskier bets, and tight ends tend to get banged up a little bit more than wide receivers. So with this many, like when I want to fill in those flex spots, I'd rather fill them in with wide receivers, I think, because they're a little bit less fragile. Mm-hmm. I think the key thing, I think it's smart to have, put in a fair amount of your draft capital into tight end so that you always have a tight end starter who's crushing. And if you can get a couple tight ends to pop who are giving you really high end production because of the tight end bonuses, that's obviously a huge advantage too. So, but I think there's only going to be like a few tight ends that really pop. So I don't think I'm going to like do the massive load up at tight end that I've seen some other guys do.
Yeah. So then they're also talking, another option is I could do a double stack with Ben Roethlisberger, Deontay Johnson. Where are you at Deontay Johnson versus Will Fuller?
I mean, I got to take Will Fuller, like just the target upside. I don't know, man. Like this, what are there 1,440 teams in this, right? Like,
yeah,
Will Fuller needs to stay healthy and he can have like a 30% market share. I know that that's not really his profile, but like that's what's available now that DeAndre Hopkins is out of town. So, and it's from a really, really strong quarterback who has had an amazing connection with Will Fuller. Like, yeah, Brandon Cooks is there. Brandon Cooks is new to the team. Will Fuller and Deshaun Watson have like maybe the strongest deep ball connection in football. I don't know.
Yeah.
Take Will Fuller.
That's what I'm doing. I'm going against you, Kevin. I'm sorry. I'm swinging for the fences here. I'm trying to ship this bad boy. I need another wide receiver. I already have a couple stacks, and I could still get Deontay Johnson coming back if I feel like it. But we are going to draft Will Fuller. Are you surprised?
You also already have Juju, and you don't have Ben Roethlisberger, right?
No, I do have Big Ben.
You do have Big Ben. Oh,
Yeah.
you could do a double stack. Got it.
Yeah.
That makes it a little more interesting. But
what are your thoughts on, like, obviously stacking? I mean, you think the double stacking, is that getting too out over your skis, or you think that still makes sense?
No, I think it makes sense. I mean, if you're betting on, like, if you're basically making a pick for an offense that you think will like wildly overperform expectations.
Yeah.
So I went like, partially I did this because I wanted Christian McCaffrey, but then I was thinking about it, like, with the new offense, Christian McCaffrey probably needs a ton of receptions to really hit the, anything close to the scoring that he had last year, because I don't think that this team is just going to run their offense through a running back. So now McCaffrey, his usage and his skill, it gives him a really strong scoring potential. But my best case scenario is that the offense is clicking and that the passing offense is clicking, and they're running a lot of that through McCaffrey. So then that put me onto Moore, that put me into Bridgewater. I may go back and get another piece of that offense. Because I think if the Panthers offense, and the Panthers offense with new coaching, new quarterback, I think probably some better offensive line play. I don't know how likely they're to be like an explosive offense, but it's on the table. So I just kind of, as opposed to like trying to stack up all of my wide receivers and quarterbacks, I made more of a play just on the Panthers.
Yeah. Yep. And beyond the kind of the top guys, which you already have, the other guys are very affordable. And you're going to be able to do that. So what are you eyeing here at the 8-9 turn?
Yeah, I was kind of kicking around a few different options. I think this might be the time where I have to make a decision on Ronald Jones, because he won't come back. Yeah.
That's your boy.
So that is my boy. And I'm a little nervous that I could have a tough situation where, I might have to wave goodbye and pass on him, because I could see like Stephon Diggs coming back. I could see Damian Williams coming back, which would be like, that's a pretty high upside guy to pass on.
Carl, so, Carl says in the chat, Pat loves Rojo. Do you think anyone this is a surprise to? I mean, this is old news, brother. Pat. Although he destroyed his brand by taking Keyshawn Vaughn, we've
in one charity draft.
Yeah, that's
all that I cone with my brother. But
why do you think
I love that you really want to have it both ways here, Pete. You want me to be like just a hopeless Ronald Jones just truther, and then also have destroyed that brand simultaneously. So anyway, I'll probably take Rojo. I think Pete's right. I got to make sure that the brand is strong.
That's right. I mean, the thing that's so tilting about these drafts too is then you see someone like, did you see Ben Gretch's team?
Yes, I saw Ben Gretch's team.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just pull it up just so I can get
demoralizing. It's literally a demoralizing team.
I can't even type because I'm just so on tilt. You know what? I don't even know if I want to do this. Actually, okay. Someone did just request. I don't even want to look at him. Someone did say they want to see Counselor's team. So I will do it.
This one will make me feel better.
Yeah. So Counselor actually did a full breakdown on his Instagram. I don't even hate his team. Like, it's not how I would build a team, but he like at least understands the scoring system. Like, I don't know. I don't hate it. It's not a bad team.
No, I mean, I wanted to take Tannehill before he took him. I took Bridgewater before he took him, around before he took him.
Madison,
those are good values.
Madison's a great pick in this format. Like, we all expect Dalvin Cook to play, but if things get weird or go south, I mean, you're getting another bell cow back down there, most likely. He's targeting these rookie wide receivers, Pittman and Jefferson. I don't know about
Gurley's a little bit better in this format with his, ugly carry profile. Fits better with the first down bonuses. He'll get plenty of those.
Yeah. I mean, it is hard to knock Gurley if you assume full health. I mean, like, who's stealing even pass work from him in Atlanta?
Yeah, I guess Ito Smith, but Ito Smith's been very inefficient. I think it could be kind of gross, but I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't draft Gurley at the 302, but I guess as far as a counselor pick, it's really hard to make fun of. So I'm a little disappointed. There's like, what are we supposed to make fun of here?
We can't. I like that you just created a new metric. It's like when people say you have beer goggles on. It's like, as a counselor pick, it's not that bad. We're grading on a curve. Yes.
All right, pull up Gretch's team. Now I want to see. I want to see some eye candy.
Yeah, this is how. What? No, it's yards per Gretch.
It's yards per Gretch. Yeah,
that's a stupid handle. Oh my God. Okay, this is stupid. It's just, how did he get those 3 tight ends there?
Ben.
I took Hunter Henry in the 6th. He's getting him at 8-12. I mean, this is so tilting.
This is like genuinely tilting.
It's like
really good. Game. I love the 3 tight end, and then he doesn't go back to it. He's just like, I'm gonna own tight ends real quick, and then he's loaded. He's like, God damn it, Ronald Jones. I got to take Ronald Jones now. I can't let Gretch have Ronald Jones.
Yeah, because Gretch. I mean, if you pass on him here, I mean, I would say Gretch takes the throne as the foremost Rojo. We were. Were your ears burning? Ben, were your ears, because we were talking.
You've been here the whole time, or you just knew as soon as we started talking about your team?
It's nice that this is rigged, so you can have like a really fun draft and really make the rest of us hate ourselves. Like that.
Yeah,
that's really fun for you, I'm sure. Because if all our teams just were about the same, it'd be fine. But we have to then look at this and know that ours are shit, and that sucks. And you suck, Ben.
See, Gretch figured out which league they were going to take Matt Barkley in and had Scott put him in that league. We were trying to figure out whether or not we wanted the 104 or whatever.
Goodness. Yeah. Well, I hope. I can't even wish ill will on all these players because they're players I'm drafting everywhere. So there's no way around this. There's no way.
Yeah, that's the thing about this team that's frustrating, because he just got everyone I wanted like a round later than I wanted to draft them. Around, yeah, he got them to fall around.
Yeah.
So I don't have a chance to match.
We'll do one more. Since Kevin has been giving us lots of good stuff, let's pull up his here. I can't. I don't know any of your guys'. Kevin, what do I? Is it FF?
Pull up Friedman's. I want to see if he had Rojo. He's new to the Rojo bandwagon.
We'll go back to yours, Kevin. Tell me when I need to search. Matt F. the Oracle. Oh, there you go. 801.
Donald Jones, 801. Strong showing by Friedman. Very strong.
Wow. I'm actually surprised, because Friedman is normally willing to go running backs early from at least the drafts I've done with him. So he started out 3 stud wide receivers. Cam Newton at 601 is aggressive. Well, I guess QB 19, maybe not.
Cam Newton has a really high ceiling in this.
Yeah.
The other thing about Cam Newton, because I thought about taking him, is that because like quarterbacks don't always score the most points at the flex, you'd almost rather have a guy who is gonna like if Cam Newton sucks and gets benched and you move on, that might be better than like pretending it's okay to start him when it's actually not, and him hurting you. And then there's a big upside case where he's like an awesome starter in this league because he's going to get the rushing and all of that. So yeah, I mean, it's a little earlier than I would have taken him, I think, but
I just wanted to do one more and pull up the counselors lineup. One more. Oh no, actually, this is Kevin O'Brien's team. Sorry, I just saw the running backs and I thought I pulled up the counselors team again. Just kidding, Kevin.
Kevin, these are pretty good for the counselor.
This is really good for the counselor. The 3 quarterbacks. Yep. You were going 0 wide receiver. No wonder you were pushing Edelman, Kevin. You wanted to feel better about that selection there. Yeah, I see a lot of wide receivers in your future here. I like the Hunter Henry pick because I took him as well, and that's how I judge all picks based on if I drafted him. But this has been fun, guys. If you would like us to review your team, whether that's SFB, FFPC, Pat, I'm just leaning into it. Hashtag SC banners. That's the
hashtag SC banners. That's what we're looking for.
That's what we're looking for. So you send that to Pat and I on Twitter with the hashtag. Send us a screenshot of the review. It's SC banners.
Hang on, I need to search this, Pete.
I don't even care. Like it'll be doable.
There's already people tagging you with it, so this is good to go.
Okay, we're good to go. Yeah,
good to go. And it looks like there was some sort of Christian rally held in 2013 using it. So
perfect. Move out of the way, guys. We're the new show in town. So you leave a review on iTunes. You send us a screenshot of the team you want us to review and that review with the hashtag SC Banners to the Chip Chasing Podcast. It's great. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kevin, we talked a little bit about the teams. That was the Pat's team, and who was the other guy we were reviewing? Monkey?
Jungle Cats.
Jungle Cats. Can't keep track of all this. I have too many teams. I got too much going on in my head. But yeah, here's the deal, guys. We're going to keep doing these mini episodes. I believe tomorrow we should be on the clock for our 3rd round pick, so we'll have another one of those dropping. So yeah, definitely.
We did have another team to review from Davis Maddock.
Oh yeah, whatever. We can punt that off till later.
All right.
I'm not reviewing Davis's best ball team as we wrap up the show. I mean, come on. All right, guys. This has been fun as always. Thank you guys for coming out, hanging out in the chat. We are excited to be drafting again. Just wear your masks. That's all I ask. Wear your masks. Let's make sure football happens. For Pat Corain, for myself, this has been Chasing Chips. Remember, use hashtag SC Banners.